Hello and welcome to another Sinister Sunday. Today we're traveling all the way to Australia, 1830, to Tasmania's Port Arthur. Let's see why this place is so sinister and haunted. Whether you're a believer in the supernatural or not, you cannot deny some historical places and buildings in the world radiate a certain energy. What that energy is, we don't know, but stories of unexpected reactions to these invisible force fields are experienced daily all over the world. British colonists founded Tasmania's Port Arthur as a penal colony in 1830. After arriving from the United Kingdom, the settlement's prisoners endured solitary confinement, hard labor, and both physical and psychological abuse. More than 1,000 of them died before operations ceased in 1877. It's been more than 140 years since the Port Authority penal colony shut, after 44 years of brutal slavery and punishment of the worst sent from the motherland. Some were as young as 10 years old. Most were hardened criminals, others insane or just unlucky. Some made it out. Thousands did not. I'm going to tell you from a father's point of view what happened when a family outing with their 7-year-old went very wrong at Port Arthur. Port Arthur is serenely beautiful, but I can't account for these goosebumps rising on my neck. This may just be my empathetic side because I know the events that happened there. However, what I did not account for was the intense reaction my 7-year-old son was going to have during our visit. Not yet of the age at which I thought it necessary to provide any detailed history of Port Arthur. As far as he was aware, we were just going to look at a bunch of old buildings. At first, he was inquisitive, happy to skip beside us as we explored the old church, government cottage, and gardens, but his mood changed dramatically when he refused to cross the threshold of the parsonage, reputably one of the most haunted buildings in Australia. Over the next 30 minutes, my son's emotions intensified as he became teary and extremely difficult, clenching his fist by his side as he moved unwillingly to site, refusing to enter any of the structures. He was unable to articulate how he was feeling, and he would just keep saying over and over again, "I'm just angry." Thinking this was a rare and, by his unusual standards, a particularly odd tantrum, we persisted with our visit. We could not, however, ignore him when he began pacing in a circle near the chilling separate prison, intermittently growling under his breath. The prison had been built for the physical, mental, and sensory isolation of unruly convicts. True hell on earth for those unlucky enough to wind up there. By this time, my son was attracting the attention of others with his distressed growling and pacing. I bundled him up in my arms, imploring him to tell me what was wrong, but his only response, that seemed to be forced, was, I'm trying to keep the mad in." That was enough for us to finish our visit and head to the Port Arthur Visitor Center. Our little boy, seemingly wrecked with grief, holding back tears and growling all the way. Rather exasperated, our day had been cut short by what I thought must have been a tired, hungry, or bored child. I certainly was not expecting and cannot explain what happened next. The moment we stepped through the doors into the recently built center, I immediately felt my son's vice-like grip release my hand, and he closed his eyes, let out a huge sigh that made him slump forward. Bent over, with his hands on his knees, he took a few more deep breaths, then looked up and said, "I feel better now. All the mad is gone away." And that was it. In a blink of an eye, my happy, gentle child was back. If his sudden recovery had occurred anywhere else, I may not have made the connection to a possible emotional haunting, but my fears were confirmed when a Port Arthur staff member mentioned accounts of similar reactions from visitors, along with visual, physical, and sensory encounters. It rocked us to the core also when we discovered the area our son was anxiously pacing around was the very spot of a brutal solitary confinement cell once used to house the worst of the worst tortured souls. Spirits of broken men whose legacies remain in the physical ruins, and the unsettling energy cloaking the otherwise exquisite setting that is Port Arthur. Other visitors to the site have reported everything from empty rocking chairs moving on their own to ghosts dressed in 19th century clothing suddenly appearing in windows. The disembodied laughter of children and a mysterious woman in blue. Thousands of people tour the Port Arthur historical site every year, and many of them report similarly creepy experiences. The Port Arthur tour guides actually have thousands of written reports by people who have experienced something paranormal while on the tour, and they all had similarly eerie stories to tell. Many report seeing a blue lady, who some believe is the ghost of a woman who was married to a Port Arthur accountant. The couple apparently lived in the penal colony during the 1800s. One account was, I saw a figure of a lady in a crinoline dress and a bonnet with arms outstretched. The woman had a pale dress from waist to ground. Another was a figure of a youngish woman wearing a long blue-gray dress, looking out of the back door of the building. Legend is that the woman and her baby died during childbirth, and so she keeps returning to the particular building day after day looking for her unborn child. Others have reported seeing a little girl who had fallen down the stairs at the commandant's house. I felt a little girl lying at the bottom of the stairs. She was lying in a pool of blood. Her right arm is broken. She's really scared. I could hear the little girl as I walked up the path. Her arm is twisted up under her, and I feel like my arm is hers. While many tourists are haunted by the sound of children laughing and playing, the children run up and down the stairs, laughing, playing, and on summer nights you can still hear them playing hopscotch and singing songs. In 2015, a visitor captured some ghostly apparitions on camera during his tour and posted them on his Facebook page. One photo shows the figure of a small boy lurking in one of the cells, while in another photo, it was a ghostly white smudge. But possibly the most spine-tingling image is that of several ghostly children figures peering out a window of one of the buildings. Whether or not you believe in the legends of Port Arthur, its long history and haunting architecture are enough to make your spine tingle. Port Arthur not scary enough for you? Maybe you could visit the Isle of the Dead, which is a small cemetery island in Port Arthur, Tasmania. It's part of the Port Arthur Historical Site and the Australian Convict Sites World Heritage Property. The island is the final resting place for over 1,000 people. This is including convicts, military and civil officers, women, and children. The cemetery is divided into 2 sections, with convicts buried in unmarked graves in the south end, and free and military burials marked by headstones in the north end. Thank you for joining us on another Sinister Sunday. Check out the Sinister Sunday playlist for more content like this. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. We also have channel membership you can join down below. We'll see you next week.